My name is Raymon van Niekerk, and I have a BA in visual communication, double majoring in motion design and communication design. I first got introduced to the world of After Effects in high school. Kind of nerdy how it started. I saw a lot of Call of Duty edits that were really interesting and masterfully crafted actually. Using After Effects, and that kind of sparked my interest in wanting to learn more about it and explore it. Through that, it kind of led to focusing on design and animation and all of that. I currently work for a content creation agency called Run Jump Fly. They specialize in live action and animation. So I am quite a generalist at the moment, so I don't really have the opportunity to focus on one particular style, but in my personal work I do gravitate more towards the visual communication and comm design style, so more 2D flat animations and very geometric compositions. That's what really inspires me and what I enjoy the most. We once had a project for a non-profit that involved quite a variety of different aspect ratios and character animation. So instead of having to redo animation for each aspect ratio, we just did one main animation and then just repurposed it for the different aspect ratios. The animations themselves are really, really detailed as far as the characters go. Even though there wasn't really a lot of scope in the character's design for that, but we really wanted to push it and achieve, good quality of work for the clients. During tough times like those, where the deadlines are super tight and you have to do a lot of detailed work, it's just, important to keep spirits high and, power through. When I first started working at the company, we got quite a big project working with Snoop Dogg that required a lot of collaboration with a bunch of different studios. It was really quite an amazing insight to see on a grand scale what a project like this kind of looks like, especially when there's multiple different studios involved, from working with illustrators and illustrated assets that were provided, and getting to see what those files look like. And also having regular check-ins with the clients to make sure that all of the studios are aligned and we can all see what everybody's producing, and So recently I did a project for KFC. The brief was quite open as far as the style and creative execution goes. So when you have an open brief like that, it kind of gets a bit tricky to create when you have all of the freedom. So I definitely leaned on my colleagues to give me feedback on what I could be improving and just help push the narrative a little bit better. So after obviously leaning on my colleagues, the project went a lot smoother and I could just create without having any mental barriers. I do. I have a couple. They're all motion and design related. I think one is called School of Motion. There's another one called Banter with Buck. And I think Creative Pep Talk is another one that is really, really helpful for when you're really in a rut. Top three, I think one is called Benny. Amazing music. I think Scarlett is another one. These are all super unknown people, I think. Probably very, very small time. And then I think lastly it would be Masego. So I find that lately there's been a lot of push for mixed media. So mixing 2D animation with 3D assets, that kind of thing. I've seen that a lot with the work that we've been doing as well. A lot more 3D and 2D animation definitely has been quite popular. But in general, in the industry, I see a lot of use of mixed media as well. Things that contain a lot of texture and pushing away from the flat 2D aesthetic. That's that corporate Memphis style. So not a lot of people kind of gravitate towards that anymore. I think there's definitely like a fine line between making it, communicate effectively and just being like very generic. But I do see it still, but it's definitely, I think, phasing out a little bit, because clients definitely want something that resonates more with a very specific audience than just something that's targeted to everybody. Definitely. I think one particular aspect that really kind of aided in my growth as a motion designer is the kind of elements of design and influence that design has on motion design. I mean, you can animate amazingly, but if the design doesn't really communicate effectively, you're in a bit of an awkward position. So I definitely think having a background in design definitely kind of puts you in a different position than if you just primarily focus on animation. If you're an aspiring motion designer, Motion Hatch is an amazing resource for upcoming motion designers who want to freelance and kind of start their business. School of Motion, definitely. And there's also a motion design community in Cape Town called Motion Design Cape Town, kind of self-explanatory, but they have some really talented people there that are always willing to kind of teach people and share their experience and knowledge, for sure. Monster and sour worms. Sugar-free Monster, for sure. When I'm not motion designing or working on personal projects, I'm a freelance photographer. I mainly photograph bands and live music, but I also have an interest in fashion and portraiture. So that's definitely a hobby. I've seen kind of the impact that design has on motion design and how much of a benefit that is. So I think definitely either take some design electives or kind of self-study in your free time and just brush up on the principles of design, for sure, because that will really boost your presence in the industry, for sure. And just network. The more people you know, the easier it will be for you to find the opportunities you're looking for. Yeah, that's it.